Hi, welcome to the small shed. This week on the Cyclekart I want to get the front end sorted, ready for its first run out. See you in a minute. Now I want to get the front geometry on the cart somewhere near. At the moment it's wildly towed in, just because I just threw it together. And to do that I just want to get a couple of pieces of wood to strap onto the wheels. Now I could work off the tyres, but they are likely to be more inconsistent than the actual rims, I would hope. So to space the bars that I'm going to use out from the rims and make sure they work on the rims, I've just cut up a couple of bits of scrap wood, and what I'm going to do is to make a piece that will glue together like so to an L shape, and that will clamp to the rims either side, and that will give me an extended straight edge. I've done it that way because if I do it that way there's likely to be some flex in it, but if I make it into an L-shaped beam like that, that should give me a good straight section that's not going to deviate too much. It's a fairly quick and easy thing to do really, it's nothing desperately important, but I would like to get it somewhere in the right field to start with. So I've, as I say, a couple of bits of scrap wood, and hopefully I can just clamp these to the wheel with a small clamp, front wheels, and then measure distances apart. I think, if I remember my facts right, I need a slight bit of toe in at the front. I think you have a little bit of toe in for a rear wheel drive car, because as it accelerates it tends to push outwards. I'm not quite sure on that, and I think it's the reverse for a front wheel drive car, you have a little bit of toe out, I think. I shall probably go and have a quick look at what all my books say, or Cyclekart articles on the subject, but I think more importantly is to get it at least somewhere in the right ballpark, never mind toe out or toe in. I want to get it roughly neutral, and then I can get there when that's done. So I'll just make a pair of these up, and go and have a go. Right, a pair of those. Let's go and see what happens when they're on the cart. Right, that's got the two rails set up, so they're touching on the rims, not the tyre. They are both relatively level, and they're sitting on the hub in the middle of the wheel, so we've got a pretty much equal positioning. So all I can do now is just measure across the distances front and back. The further out I go the more accurate it is, and get them set up so that we're reasonably close to start with. Right, that's got my roughly equal. I'm 1020 front and back now, so I'm just going to go and have a look and see what the toe in should be. I'm guessing about 10mm at the front of the tyres, but we'll go and have a look and see if we can get some definitive answer, something to play with once it's set up. But the only reason I'm doing this is to get these rod lengths in somewhere near the right place. They're miles too long at the moment. Right, I've just done my homework. There's two people I've found who are working on the same principle of 5mm toe in at the rim. So I'm going to work with, well, 6mm at the outside of the tyre, I think, because it's easier to measure. But we'll get that set in. Now I'm assuming that is from the centre line of the axle in. Yeah, so that'll be the same in reverse at the back as well, so I can double check that. So we'll be 6 in at the front, 6 out at the back. Right, that's got the toe-in sorted, I think, at the rim, or just a fraction inside the rim now. I've got 975 plays 985. Tighten all the bolts up on that, so that should now give me good steering. I haven't tightened that bolt up, correction. I'll just do that one, and then we can double check again, because all of this moves every time you tighten a bolt up. It just stiffens it up a bit. .975. There's 962 actually, so that's good. That's brought that down then to 13mm front to back, so it's about 6.5mm a toe in. Brilliant. It's got me where I want to with the toe in. Let's now think about the caster on these axles, because that's set with these rods here that set the angle on that front axle. Right, so let's see where we are with the spindles. They should be about 6 degrees, but goodness knows where they really are. Let's just get something flat and put on the floor, which is our reference, and zero that, which it says 0.02, so we'll zero it. 0.00. Zero. Put it on the spindle. 81.7, so that's about 8 degrees, and I wanted about 6. So I've got to push the top one and pull the bottom one slightly. With that, let's just check the other side. Hopefully they're not too far out. Set that to 0. It is. Stick that one on there. 79.7, so it's nearly 10 on that one. It's quite a lot further out. They both want a bit more out on the top and a bit more in on the bottom, so we'll I think we'll anchor the bottom for yeah, we'll have to try and anchor the bottom first and then adjust the tops to suit. Foolishly I didn't get left and right hand threaded rods, so I could have just twisted the rod to make it longer or narrower. As it is, I've got to take things off and redo it, but I think I'll attach them at the bottom end. Now I know that we're roughly in the right place, and then adjust from these rod ends up here. It's interesting, I've just jacked the front end up just to get these caster angles set, and the toe-in has gone absolutely completely out the window, and that's because these rods are now having to go much further because they're on the slope. When you're flat on the ground, they're almost straight, so you can see the sort of effect on your steering geometry that the slightest thing will have. Fortunately I'm about right. I probably, when I'm loaded, it will come down slightly further, so that may well also affect the toe-in. I may have to get a bag of sand or two and put in the cart to set it with that, but it's quite interesting. It's visibly towing out now by a long way. Well, this has rapidly gone south, getting into all sorts of mess. I've virtually got the whole front end dismantled, but I think it was down to the fact that I hadn't really set this panhard rod right in the first place, and that's been throwing everything out because it locks everything up. So I'm just trying to get that sorted, and I'll come in last and do that. And I've got the rest of the axle done. I've just been going around in circles trying to get it to work, but I think we're there now. Right, a lot of blood, sweat and tears later, literally blood in the case of the front suspension. We've got it sorted. I think it's all now really rigid, really solid, bounces nicely. So I think I'm just going to double check that in the morning when I'm a bit fresher to it. I'm going to call it a day at the moment. I think I've had enough for one day, but I think we've got all that we wanted to done on the front end today. And come at it fresh tomorrow with a plaster on our finger and stop getting blood all over our cycle cart. Right, next morning I've got it all back together. I've started putting the bodywork on. I've got a couple of problems that I'm just not going to be able to deal with at the moment. They're going to need a bit more thought and work, I suspect. First and foremost, these brackets are clearly not going to be up to the job. There's already evidence of a little bit of a bend on one of them. So I'm going to run it for a bit and see what happens, but I'm going to sort out some drawings and get some proper ones engineered up for me. And the advantage of that will be that I can set them with a rake on them now. I can measure what that rake is and have them made up so that they will negate a lot of the problems I've got with getting that angle on the arm itself. So that's number one job on the list. The other thing is I've got that side down to about a 5.5 degree camber caster, which is about right. I'm quite happy with that one. That one is stubbornly staying at about 8, and I don't think there's anything I can do about that. I've got the axle in the right place now. It's all square and level and straight. The pitman arms had about 10mm taken off it, and that solved most of my problems. But that side, that caster is out, and I think the only thing I can do with that is to take that entire spindle side off and actually elongate the hole slightly and move it a bit. But again, I'm not going to do that at the moment. Let's see how it drives. It's about 8 degrees at the moment, so it's not the end of the world, but it's not right. Other than that, I think we're almost done. So I've got to drill those holes for pins to stop the the nuts undoing. But other than that, that front end is now tight, and I'm happy that when I put the steering wheel on, I've now got no slop in anything really now of any significance, other than the actual wheel itself, between the wheel and the column. But it looks like it's going to work much tighter. So again, proof will be in the pudding. So next job I think is to put the cowl back together, put that on. One of the things I've been debating is whether or not to cut the cowl out so that I can take it off without taking the steering arms off, because you've got to undo them at both ends to get them onto the cowl. But I think on balance, in this case, I think I'd prefer the aesthetics and the rigidity of not having the back of the cowl cut out will win over the sheer pain in the bumness of having to take it all apart every time I take the cowl off. But it's 3 bolts effectively. So we'll get the cowl on. We've got the main dash panel and everything sorted and bolted in. I'm going to do the sides now, get those back on, and I've finished painting all the cockpit bits, so hopefully by the end of today we can have it finished as far back as the scuttle, the backrest, and then that will only leave, I think, final tinkering, extra throttle springs, etc., and bleeding the brakes. Right, end of the day, pretty much sorted at the front. I've just got to put the front wheels on properly. I might get a chance to do some work on the discs, I'm not sure, but as far as everything else is concerned, geometry wise, steering wise and everything, I don't think I can do any more. It's just a matter of seeing what breaks now. The bodywork is now all in primer, and all of the inside is done with the green, silver aluminium type finish, and it's all bolted together as far back as the cockpit. The only thing I've got to do in the cockpit is put the dashboard in now and just do a wiring job on that, or a rewiring job on that. Put my exhaust in. I've got to just put a grill over the carburetor intake, but that's a small job. So next job really now is to get it properly running, if you like, and that's probably the next full day's job that I've got to do. We'll have a bleed of the brakes, wire the dashboard, and sort all the back axle out with the right collars and keys in the axle and things like that. But otherwise I think I'm pretty much in a place where I'm happy for it to go away for a day and show it off. There's a bit of work to do on, you know, seat squab and things perhaps, but if I get a chance. But as I say, the front end is now finally complete. Okay, so that's got the first part done. The front end of it is pretty much ready to roll, I think. It remains to be seen how well it's set up, but at least it's pointing in roughly the right direction when you steer it. Next week I'm hoping to get onto the back end of it, get all that tidied up, buttoned up, and get it pretty much ready to go out on its maiden voyage. So I hope the video was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next week when we'll be doing something different on the Cyclekart. See you then. Bye.